Hello Fraggers, I'm Guillaume, I'm the game lead on FRAG, and I'd like to tell you about what we're going to do in the coming weeks and even the coming month. First, let's start with the next update. I cannot tell you everything there will be, but we're going to do something that some of you have asked for. We're going to do a big revamp of the battle UI, and in particular something we want to do is make icons, emotes in the battle much easier to use. And it's going to be a radial menu coming from the bottom right of the screen. Before telling you what we're going to do for FRAG V3, I want to tell you what we're not going to do, even though we had planned and maybe announced we will do it. The first one is all card balancing. As you know, we wanted to have all card balance from the beginning to the end, from Dan to Kazulu or cards from the very end of the game. And we realized it's not really possible to have this. So what we're going to do is to have as many cards balanced as possible from the middle and to the end of the game. But for the beginning of the game, there will still be this kind of power progression where new cards are better than all cards. And we want to do this because we want, players to switch cards as they unlock new cards. Else everyone's going to have, many players will just use Dan, Jet, Paku from the beginning to the end of the game. And of course we don't want this. Something else we're not going to do, and I'm sorry because I announced it, is the Spectator Mode. We thought we might be able to do it, but we turned out when we checked the code that it will take one full update or more to do it well, and one update only allocated to it. So I'm not saying we're never going to do it. I'm saying that sadly it's not going to come for FRAG V3. So now let's talk about FRAG V3. There will be three big things coming with FRAG V3. The first thing we're going to do is a new layer of progression for characters that at the moment we're calling it augments. What it is character-specific progression that you can acquire for your characters. And you won't be able to move them from one character to another, and this progression will reinforce the strengths of the characters. What I mean is that a tank will have augments that make it or him or her even more tanky. The sniper even more snipery, if I can say so. And you won't have movement augment on slow characters. But what we want is characters to become more and more specialized, because what we realized preparing for the large balancing that we want is that it's easier to balance characters that are really different rather than try to balance characters that are only very slight variations. That's why we want to do this. The second thing that we're going to do is a big revamp on both missions and events. We're not satisfied with the events and we're not satisfied with the missions either, as they are. So we want to have a new system. When you launch a game, you check the list of what we will call challenges, and it's very specific tasks that you have to accomplish, usually only once. And once you accomplish all those tasks, you finished an event, or what we call a challenge. And depending on how many tasks there are, on whether it's spread out of 5, 10 days, etc., it will be different kind of missions, challenge, events, whatever you call it. Finally, the last thing we'll do with FRAG V3 is that we're going to have a new main menu that puts the character on the forefront. Instead of having to check your characters in a dedicated tab, you will see them at all times. You will be able to upgrade them from the main menu, and it will look super modern, super cool. We're very happy about it. Okay, this is all for FRAG V3. I also want to talk about something else, which is the suggestions coming from the community. I know there have been a lot of suggestions on Discord and on other places, and you don't always know what happens with them. Our process currently is that those suggestions are vetted and then they're brought to the game design team, and the game design team checks them, and some of them they are rejected, some of them they are, good idea, we should do this at some point, and some of them are good idea, but we're already planning to do something about this, so it's good idea, but not something we're going to do either. And for those ideas that we want to do, they're joining a quality of life list. And in this quality of life list, when we have some time, or when we're going to change a big feature that is linked to this suggestion, then it's integrated or it gets done. So it's coming. We read them, we know about them, we reject some of them. There won't be any jump button for all characters, for instance, but they're being tracked and they're added either as full-fledged features that we want to do at some point, or as quality of life features that basically is treated the same way as bugs, like some minor bugs or some stuff we know we're going to have to fix it at some point, but we don't know yet. And yeah, that's it for what I wanted to tell you guys, so carry on fragging and see you soon.